The time my son was, I think he was about to be a senior in high school. And his previous 3 years in the summertime, I gave him a 10 o'clock curfew. Because we always know where the kids are at Brooklyn Bridge Park, playing ball or whatever. And he would make it home by 10. And then his senior year when he asked for a curfew, I was just wondering, seeing what time he felt like he should be home. So I didn't give him one. And instead of 10 o'clock or anything after 10 o'clock, he was coming home like at 8 or 8:30, which was still daylight like this. And I didn't pay any attention to it at first. And then I think around the third night is when it kind of hit me that somebody was probably bothering him. So when I questioned him about it, he just came out and told me that I was wrong and that the reason why him and his friends was coming home before dark because they didn't want to get killed by the cops. So as a dad, I didn't have an answer to it. We needed every single thing that we wrote on paper to be said because, as a black father, as a black man, I felt that was very well needed. And I wasn't worried about who that film could make comfortable. It's not about making people comfortable. It's about being real and making people feel uncomfortable so you can know where we're coming from and being real at the exact same time.
For the black and brown folks, for African Americans, the conversation that we have on film is one that we have had in barbershops, and kitchen tables, and meetings, and barbecues amongst ourselves. And we took that idea and expounded it and tried to really answer the question like, what are we going to do?
I have a daughter who's 6 years old now, so I'm more concerned now about her education and her learning about the truths about black people and the truths about this country and the history of this country. And the fact that they teach these kids pretty much a lie. Like Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims and it was all harmony and all that, it's pretty much a lie. And so I've always said I have to teach my daughter the truth about slavery, what happened, how we got here, everything. So I think that the professor is brilliant to be a part of this because at the same time it's teaching the youth the truth. Because once you know the truth, then you know how to proceed on in life.
We already had a conversation writing this that, I wanted the woman to come at the very end. And that was for a reason. It was structured that way strictly because that's how I always saw, I'm from the South. So my grandfather would have his friends over, and when there was an issue, I would always hear them try to solve it, and they never could come up with the answer. But my grandmother would be walking back and forth, cooking, cleaning, doing whatever, and she could hear everything in this house. It's not like we was living in a mansion. So when she realized that they didn't have an answer to it, she would just lay it on them and provide the answer. So we wanted to make sure that a woman comes in at the end and she's the icing on the cake.
Because up until that point, it's just a bunch of men, and it's a blind spot if you're a man watching the film. If you're a man watching the film, it's like, oh, this is good, this is good. But if you step outside yourself, a woman watching the film is going to be like, I don't see myself.
Yeah, where are we?
Where are we? And that's so hypocritical, right? Based on what we're trying to address in the film, right? We're trying to talk about us being discluded from the American system, and then we disclude someone.
Here these guys are coming together to fight oppression, and at the same time, they're oppressing a particular agenda. So exposing that within the film was even dope. I thought that was it just grounded it even more in reality. You know what I'm saying? Because she should have been there from the jump, just like one of the characters says. So that was really dope. How that was written. It's just like that's real.
Yeah.
Because there might be a meeting, and unfortunately, the way some men think who are in positions of power or positions of influence,
right,
a woman is not at the table.
Right.
Right. Which is completely not right.
It's unfortunate that we wrote this film to prevent what we're actually living through today that happened with Mr. George Floyd, Miss Breonna Taylor, Mr. Ahmaud Arbery, and Mr. Elijah McClain and all the other victims, right? Like, why it's July 2020. And that's what saddens me. Like, even when we won these awards, you couldn't celebrate that. You know, like, usually when you win something, you can celebrate. It was like, okay, thanks, I appreciate it, and we moved on. Because there's no celebration. We're coming from so much of a real perspective that what is there to celebrate? We're trying to stop this from happening. So thanks for the award. Appreciate the fact that you watched it, but what, did you really get something from it? Whether you're white, whether you're black, you know, whether you're Hispanic, whatever, you know, Asian, what did you really get from it?